Hey y'all, and welcome back to a new video in the Master Level Puzzle series where I share with you puzzles that I think are pretty hard and pretty instructive. So let's get into it. I got 3 puzzles for you today. One which I think is easy, the one that you see on screen right now, white to play and win. Another that I think is a medium difficulty, which is white to play and draw. And a third that I believe is a hard difficulty, which is also a draw for white. All 3 of these are extremely hard puzzles. Let's not get anything twisted here. I think that you have to be of a very high level to even solve the first one, but yeah, let's just get into it. I'm gonna give you some time to pause the video right now and solve this one. There will be timestamps in the description, of course, for each puzzle and their rating, difficulty, and what you have to play here. This is white playing for a win, not for a draw. So yeah, I think that's enough time. I'm gonna go over the answer. So obviously here we see that black is about to promote a pawn and win the game. So we can't just like go willy-nilly and take this pawn, because then black promotes to a queen. And I mean, we have a couple checks, but at the end of the day, black can run away. And I mean, we run out very, very quickly of checks, and it's at least a draw here. So we're not gonna let black promote. We can't really let that happen. So the first thing that we see is that we would like to get the rook over to stop this pawn, or the knight over to stop this pawn. Let's start off with a check. Let's start off with checking our checks. We have 2 checks that make any sense. This check, and not that check, that's the one that doesn't make any sense, and this check. We can quickly exclude this knight move check, because knight e5 after like king here, for example, you might think, oh, well, here you might have some discovered checking ideas. Black can just queen here, and there's no like useful discovered check. Like if here, like this move, and you might think, oh, we're getting the queen. This is a draw. Again, we're going for a win, and that means that the knight move is just kind of stupid. So the only move that we have to really look at, and the move that you should have found pretty quickly, is this move rook to h6 check, trying to get over to this file to stop the pawn. Pretty normal stuff. Pretty normal stuff. Black has 2 moves that stop the rook from getting to that file. Either he goes here or here. Very easy stuff. Very easy stuff. We can quickly discount this move as well, because this move blunders check here, and the rook goes back. And this is a very easy calculation. The king comes up, knight comes up, king comes up, and the knight gives this check. King comes up, and we can win the pawn here. That's pretty easy. It's all very, very forced. Obviously, it's a winning endgame here. We don't really need to calculate any more than that. So that means that king b5 is very, very easily discounted as wrong. King b7, however, is the move that you should be worried about, because that stops our idea. And if we just willy-nilly take this pawn, then black is going to promote, and we have no way of stopping that. So let's look at our other forcing moves. What else can we do? Well, we have these knight checks. These knight checks are very important. This is how you should calculate it, looking at the forcing lines first. So these knight checks. This check, okay, I can see why you would think it makes sense. We're just targeting the king, and we're not getting in the way of our rook. So after here, let's say the king has to go here. First of all, okay, this is interesting. The first thing that I would calculate here is this move knight d6 check, because if the king walks in front of the rook, then we have discovered checks with the knight, and we're probably going to be able to pick up something. And this is the first thing I would calculate. But the issue with this, for example, he doesn't have to go in front of the pawn. Like he can go pretty much anywhere. He can go to this square, and this is very easily calculatable. Now white doesn't have any means to check the black king, and black will promote and succeed in getting at least a draw in this position. So that's why that's discounted. And we have to look at the most natural move, the second move after king b7. Second move, knight to d8 check. Knight d8 check. is another forced move. Like, this is the only move that white has, pretty much, because knight to d6 check doesn't work. So knight d8 check. Black has to go here. If black doesn't go here, then the rook comes to this file, so black is forced to go there. Well, let's keep checking him. Let's keep checking him. Always check. Knight up. Why not? This is the only other check we have. This check might look interesting, but really it's not anything. Like, black can go here and promote. Again, a one move continuation. We don't need to look at that at all. So the only check that makes any sense is knight c6. And after knight c6, the black king can't come here, because then this check and we come here, so we can't come in front of the rook at all. That's pretty easy stuff. This move might make sense, but it doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. It doesn't make any sense because after here, we come back and stop the pawn. Pretty easy stuff. We don't need to look too hard at that. This is, after all, the easy puzzle. If you can believe it, this is the easy puzzle. The move that we have to be wary of, and the move that's very, very terrifying, and the reason why this is even a puzzle in the first place and not just, oh, this is pretty easy calculation, is this move king to a8. Because now we've run out of knight checks, there's no way to stop this pawn, and it looks like we're losing. But then we have to realize, okay, we have to keep going for forcing moves. What's the three most forcing moves here? Let's just look at forcing moves. So any knight move is forcing because we're threatening this check, right? Taking this pawn is forcing because we're threatening this check and we're threatening to come back and pick up the pawn. Let's just look at which moves are different than the others. And in all honesty, only really two moves come to mind to me. This move and this move. Those are the only really two moves that come to mind to me, because they're both like targeting the king in some fashion. This move we can pretty easily discount because he queens, and we don't have another check that doesn't trade queen. Let me just show this. We don't have another check that doesn't trade queens here, and this position is actually maybe losing. I think so. No, it's not, but it's a draw. And again, we don't want to draw. So we don't want that. And the other move that we have to look at for is this move knight a5, which just by intuition makes sense to me because it threatens this move knight b6 and coming back to stop the pawn. Knight b3 and coming back to stop the pawn. That makes the most sense to me. This move is forced pretty easily. Now the butter of the position, we give a check. We line up the queen and the king. This is another reason why you should be finding this, because I mean it's pretty logical, and we're also cutting off from the king source. So this is forced, and then we have this check, and we're picking up the queen. This is the main line of the position, and this is what we're supposed to do to make a win. And that's puzzle one. I hope you enjoyed. I kind of sped through it a little quickly. Let's get on to puzzle two, the medium puzzle, and here we are with puzzle number 2. Puzzle number 2 is the medium difficulty puzzle, in which we're trying to get a draw with the white pieces, because there's no very simple way to stop black from promoting and winning the game. So we're trying to get a draw here. I'm going to tell you some main things about draws. Normally draws in these types of very hard puzzles deal with getting the king stalemated somewhere. Can happen somewhere, but right now I'm really just giving you time to pause the video and I cannot speak today. Pause the video and figure it out for yourself. If you'd like to, of course, you can just skip ahead to the explanation, which I will do in the next 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get into the explanation. So the first thing that we see here very easily is that black is starting to promote. After black promotes, black gets a queen, and then we simply promptly lose the game. So what we have to do is find a way to stop that pawn for promotion, and we can't just do something simple like this bishop check. I have my analysis bar on. Let me turn that off. But anyway, bishop e3 check. We can't do something simple like bishop e3 check because, of course, just king takes and promotion is inevitable. Sure, we can go for some tricks, but there's no real way to stop it. I'm just going to stop you right there. There's no real way to stop the pawn for promotion. The other line here is trying to find a way to stop this pawn promotion using tricks. And there are 3 ways to do that. First of all, we go for a knight fork with knight c3, knight d2. Just say knight c3, here, here, knight fork of the king and the queen. Another way to go for it is with this skewer with bishop to d8, which is another line, of course, after here. We would skewer the king and the queen and pick up the freshly made queen with a winning position. Let's look at this bishop move first, because I think this is the simplest one to say no to, and I think it's pretty easy why. So the reason why this doesn't work is because, of course, black has to stop the bishop from coming on this diagonal. If black just moves his king up and stops the skewer, then white gets his bishop here and stops the pawn very, very easily. The only move for black here, and the only move that makes any sense, is, of course, this move king c5, stopping the bishop coming here. And we have no real way to stop it from promotion pawn. Of course, we can go for some checks with some like knight here, but after this, there's nothing to be done. And that's pretty easy of why that move doesn't work. So let's get into the meat and potatoes, knight c3 and knight d2. We're going to calculate the one that's wrong, and then we're going to calculate the one that's correct. Knight c3 is the one that's wrong. And the reason why it's wrong is because of one very simple move. Of course, black can move the bishop and stop this knight check. Black has to keep an eye on this square with the king, so we can't just go like here. Well, you can't just go like here. That would lose in 2 ways for this move and that move. If black comes with the bishop and stops the knight check, this is the one that actually wins the game. I don't know exactly how it was the game, but I know how I can draw this. Bishop here coming back and skewering the king. King has to come back. And a line that actually wins the game here is simply this move knight a4 check. King up or wherever, and bishop come here to stop the pawn from motion. That's a pretty easy line. That's what everyone should calculate, but that's why bishop to this square is wrong. Why bishop h5 is wrong, and the move becomes pretty simple to you after you look at it for a little bit of time, and it's this move king d3. And now the knight is entirely dominated. It has no real way to come closer to the pawn. The bishop cannot have any like skewer tricks here, and cannot get closer to the pawn either. If we go for any checks, like this move, trying to go for like some check here, then, I mean, that check doesn't do anything here. Let's say here, no more checks, and white is busted. So now let's get into the real one. The real reason why this line works at all, and it's not just completely losing for white in the first place. This is move knight d2. Knight d2 is the best move here. And of course, it has the same motif as the last move. We're threatening a fork of the king and the pawn. And it seems as though knight c3 made a little more sense than knight c2, because knight c3 is getting a little more in the king's face. But here, actually, knight d2 is correct, because knight d2 gets a little farther away. If the king comes up to d3 again, then we have this move knight f3, stopping the pawn. But that's obviously very simple. Let's see why this is tricky, and it's this move bishop to d5, of course. Bishop here doesn't work because of this move knight b3 check, and after the king, it is not knight b3 check, actually, apologies. It's this move coming back, going for this, and after here we have knight b3 check, and not knight b3 check. Oh my god. It is this move, knight to c4, sacrificing the knight. If takes, we have this, and if he doesn't take, if he just promotes, then we have the skewer again. Sorry, apologies for that. I haven't looked at that line in a while. But bishop d5 is the most combative line. I'm going to tell you right now, bishop d5 is the most combative line because it stops all of our knight checks, and we have to resort to the only way to stop the pawn, which is pretty simple. If you've been following, this idea of bishop d8 has been a thing in many lines. But the reason why bishop d5 is more combative than bishop h5 is that this one controls the b3 square for the knight. And that's going to be a little rough because now we don't have the knight b3 check idea. And after this move is forced, king c5, we still don't have knight b3 check. But chess gods smile on you, and we do have knight b3 check. And of course, if the king moves anywhere, if the king moves, let's say here, for example, then we will have at least a, then we'll have this fork of this square and this square, and we can get over down here. So black is forced to take. Black is forced to take. If he comes up, same thing. If he comes here, then the bishop comes here. Of course, black is forced to take. And you're like, wait, but black is winning now, right? Black is winning now. Black has a bishop, and he's going to promote the pawn, and we don't have another square for the bishop. We can't go back again. We can't go up here. I can't draw arrows up there, but you know what I mean, like up to like C9 or something. We can't go back even farther. So what are we supposed to do? Well, remember what I told you at the beginning. Most of these draws end in stalemate. So how do we stalemate the white king here? The white king, as you can see, has no moves besides capturing the light squared bishop. But we do not care about that. We want to draw. We have this move, bishop g5. Brilliant move. Amazing move. I don't really remember how to annotate on chess.com, but it's an amazing move. Basically, we're threatening this. If he promotes, we give this check. And this is a stalemate. Since the pawn can't move, the king has no squares, and the bishop is defended. And here, the game would end probably in a perpetual after king back, bishop back, here. And there's nothing that black can do besides make a draw. Very nice little puzzle. We're going to keep on the final position. This should be your main line with queen e3. And now we're on to the hardest puzzle of the day. And that brings us on to puzzle number 3, the hardest one that I have for you today. This puzzle it's very tricky. I was barely able to solve it. This is a draw. Again, we're looking for stalemate rules in these draws. This is, I think, the hardest puzzle of the day because it's very counterintuitive of a way to win this position, or I mean draw this position with white. And I'm really right now just giving you some time in order to pause the video and work it out yourself. So please do that. Pause the video. You don't have to. Of course, you can skip ahead to the explanation if you want that. But let's get into it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This position is very interesting because white is trying to draw, right? But the reason why is a little interesting. Black is about to promote this pawn. Terrifying stuff. Black is about to promote this pawn. We can't allow that to happen. So how are we going to be able to stop it? And the first thing you think of, this move, rook to f1, simply doesn't work because of this bishop fork picking up the rook through the check on the king. What other candidate moves do we have here? Let's look at all of the moves. So this bishop e2 check is a bit of an issue, so we should stop that. Rook e1 is a candidate move. This move is a check. Rook f7 is a check. We should always check checks. Let's not like make a kerfuffle here. Checks are very important. They're forcing moves. We don't want to mislay them ever. So we should check checks. We should check rook e1. What other moves do we have here? Let's see. We're working on candidate moves here. Maybe we can attack the bishop. But let's go through all these moves. And see why each of them are wrong and why one of them may be correct. So let's check the one that's very easy. This move, rook to f4. Rook f4 is very easily dealt with. Bishop e2. of course, we don't want him to take and stop this pawn. Bishop b2, let's say we're looking for stalemate, so let's get to a position where all of our squares are taken away. This move king a5 seems the most natural, and g2, and we have no way of stopping the pawn. Let's say we go rook e4, e queens, and take the bishop. Simple, we lose. Let's not sugarcoat it, we lose. So how will we be able to make a draw? We won't after rook f4. We will not be able to make a draw after rook f4. So let's see what we have else here. What other moves do we have? Check. This is the second move that's pretty easy to explain away. Check simply falls into the move of maybe we're helping black with this, because after some move king g8, we still can't go rook f1 because of bishop e2 check. All those squares are covered. If we come here, simply bishop e2 check, and it's literally the same thing. The king's where the king is doesn't really matter in this case, so that simply doesn't work. And if we try to fork him again with this move, trying to fork everything, like after bishop e2 here, this position is almost a draw, but let's say like king g7, and actually this position would be a draw after rook f5, but black isn't going to do that. Black is simply going to play king g7 first, right? King g7 first. We have no squares for the rook. If we come here, just simply check and we promote the pawn. There is no way to stop the pawn here. So rook f7 is off the table. Well, let's look at rook e8. This move makes sense. This move makes sense. It does. It makes lots of sense. G2 is forced because we're threatening this move. He doesn't have any checks there, so G2 would be forced. Now let's keep going. Rook e1, stopping the pawn. How does black make progress here? And you might say, oh well, this is easy. I mean, like, what is black doing? I should just be able to draw this very easily by sacking my rook for the pawn in a second. But if you said that, you would have missed the move bishop to e2, a brilliant move. If we take the bishop, then he queens without trifle, and if we do nothing, if we simply move our king up to a5, like I mentioned earlier, then he goes with this move bishop f1, stopping our rook from being able to guard the pawn. Not good stuff. One other move that we can try here, and one other move that I would like to show later, and the reason why this whole puzzle works in general, is this idea rook e4, because we're going for stalemate, right? These squares are covered, we're going for stalemate. If we get these squares covered, it would be a draw. So after a queen, we would give a check, and give another check, and after black takes our rook, then we would be all covered. Our king, it would be a draw. Very interesting draw with all the pieces on the other side of the board. But the reason why this doesn't work, the reason why rook e4 doesn't work, is because black has another brilliant move. The move bishop e2 again. Bishop e2 again, stopping the rook from coming back. First of all, stopping the rook from coming back. And now we don't have the g4 square. So if we go for this check, we don't have any g4 after that, and we would be losing. And he's just simply cutting off our pieces. We can't do that. So rook e4 doesn't work. So then what does? I feel like we've exhausted rook e8. Now, what other moves could work here? Rook e8 wasn't designed to take out the bishop. There are no other moves to do that. Let's get rid of that idea out of our heads. Let's find another move. And the way that you find this move is because after we look at this position, after rook e4, bishop e2, we have to find the one way that white can use the rook to stop this pawn that the bishop cannot defend. The bishop defends every single square. This square with the bishop, 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 and it defends this square with the bishop. There's one square that the bishop doesn't defend. And this is how you're supposed to solve this puzzle. The b1 square. The b1 square, the bishop doesn't defend, and that's how we do it. That's how we do it. So we come back here, and we find, okay, well, that's an issue. So instead of rook e8, we go rook b8, because that's the one square the bishop doesn't defend. If the bishop tries to defend us, okay, rook b3. This is our threat. This is our threat. We're attacking the pawn after here. And just saying, if white sacrifices the rook for the pawn. You should already know this. Let's even say like here, for example. In this position, this is a theoretical draw because the corner square is not the right color as the bishop. That's just a little bit of knowledge that you should know. So we're always threatening that. And let's say if black does their plan, oh, well, you let us play bishop e2. Okay, we play bishop e2, check. We go king a5 again. Goes g2. Rook b1, stopping the pawn. Okay, bishop f1. And now we do have this idea of going to the fourth rank and stopping this. Because after the bishop e2 idea, stopping all that, we just go back. And black doesn't have a way to stop us. If he goes to this square d3, stopping this pawn, we simply come to the g4 square, and we are able to sacrifice our rook for the pawn. There is nothing black can do here. After rook b1, bishop f1, rook b4, the best thing that black can do, probably the best thing that black can do, is just allow us to have our nice fun tricks, allow the queen, and then we'll simply have this trick. And it is a stalemate. All the king squares are covered from the bishop, from the king, and from this one pawn. Incredible puzzle. Incredible puzzle. And this is the one that I deemed as hardest because it's pretty tricky. It's pretty tricky. I like these ones where you have to find every single line and then you come back around and find the other lines because of those lines. That's why I chose this puzzle. That's why I chose kind of this is the hardest one because this is a thing that you have to learn. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you could solve these puzzles, you have the skill level of at least like a 2000 chess.com rapid, at least probably a little bit more, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys found this entertaining, instructive, all of the above. If you guys did, remember to like, subscribe, do all the normal things YouTubers tell you to do, and yeah, good evening and good night.